And we are rolling on the 25th of October at UCLA, where it's a beautiful sunny day. Sunshine is shining. Who could ask for more? We're about to hear from Alexander, who's going to share with us his favorite speech and his favorite film.
All right, hi, I'm Alex.
Hi, Alex.
So I don't watch really any movies anymore, so all of my favorite movies and all the movies I connect to are from my childhood. One of these movies is The Lion King. I love this movie. Specifically, the songs in this movie are awesome, and they really are really nostalgic and give me a lot of emotion. The great film critic Robert Ebert said back in 1994 that these films, the songs in these films aren't as memorable as past Disney film songs. I disagree with this. I think The Lion King has like one of, if not the most memorable Disney songs because, like, and it might just be me, like my childhood, but anyway, I want to say how this film, it made me feel inspired, it made me feel hopeful, and it made me feel happy. And so I decided to pick three different songs as the scenes. And so the first song is Circle of Life. It made me feel very inspired. Simba it's at the beginning of the movie where Simba is shown off to the entire land as the future king. And I always thought of the Circle of Life as the need to circle the world and experience all life has to offer. Specifically, when I was 12 years old, I was talking with a friend of mine, and I convinced him at 12 years old that the meaning of life is to circle the world. So we spent the day picking different locations in the world that we wanted to travel, and the songs really inspired me to travel the world and seize every opportunity and kind of live the circle of life. And so the second way this film moved me was it made me feel hopeful. And that song, the song that made me feel hopeful was I Just Can't Wait to Be King. This was my favorite song as a kid, and I loved it. And it's about Simba wanting to grow up and make his own rules as king. And one of the times that kind of I related to this the most was during my 6th grade graduation. I was finally out of elementary school. I was going into middle school and then to high school, college beyond, and I was gaining more responsibility, and that really made me really like excited. Like I wanted to finally dictate my own life. Like I was bullied a lot in elementary school and I hated it, and so I was really like, I couldn't wait to be like the king of my own world and dictate all the things that I could do and then like have power over all the people that treated me like crap. And in a way I related to Simba as well because we both wanted to do it all our way, as the song says. The third way that this film moved me was it made me feel happy. And this song was the Hakuna Matata. It means no worries for the rest of your days, or it also means no worries in Swahili. That's where it comes from. And that is where Simba is. Simba lives his life. He goes off and he learns this motto to live carefree, and that reminded me of when I went to Italy, and the first time I stepped in Italy and I met some of my friends there. They live a very carefree life, and so they were teaching me like how to live carefree, and I even sang the song that night. And I was talking to one of my friends the first night, and he was telling me about how Italians really like live the carefree motto, and even though they have a crippling economy, their opportunities are super low and their schools are way harder than any like high school I've ever been to, but they still like find a way to be carefree. And I thought that was super cool. I was kind of related to the Italians taught me like Timon and Pumbaa taught Simba. In summary, the Lion King made me feel inspired, hopeful, and happy, and is really nostalgic to rewatch that movie again and again, and it's affected me in so many different ways, and I think that's how movies should be, and that's how most movies are like they should affect you in multiple ways, like The Lion King did.
Thank you. 436. Let's start here.
Hi, I'm Magali.
I'm Magali.
I really like how you formatted your speech, how you did more of like how the songs reminded you of a certain feeling. I thought that was a really creative way to do it.
Your songs create a lot of feelings. I'll skip you since you're busy. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
I liked your speech. One thing you can improve upon would be maybe a little bit better transitions between the different points you make. Make it easier to follow.
Yeah. Okay. Alex, I like your speech. I like the creativity you put into this and using songs as your jumping off point. You told us you don't watch movies much anymore, but The Lion King is one that really moved you, and so you chose that, and I think that's perfectly appropriate. No need to apologize. These so-called children's films have a lot of great messages for children and adults, and they have universal messages, and so it was a good choice. You got around after giving the quote from Roger Ebert that you told us that you disagreed with his quote. Then you told us you were going to share with us that you felt inspired, hopeful, and happy. You told us first that it made you feel happy, and you told us via the song The Circle of Life inspired you to go with your friend and to fantasize about all the places as circling the globe you would go to, and in having that talk it made you happy. I would just have you return to that word at the end and relive and re-feel and sense that happiness that you had back then, and saying that's why I felt so happy. Okay. On hopeful, I couldn't wait to be king. 6-day graduation. You shared with us a good story about being bullied, and you couldn't wait to be your own king and the master of your fate, and that was a good story. And so you felt hopeful, and again, it's good to return to the emotion that you're communicating for your audience, and so you say, and that's why I felt so hopeful. And then apropos to what she was suggesting, you say, but besides feeling happy and hopeful, I also felt happiness. You have a running transition there that moves you along to your third emotion. See, so we know right where you are. Hakuna Matata, no worries for the rest of your days. I liked your story of Italy and your Italian friends teaching you to sort of kick back and relax and enjoy the moment. And again, just with the same caveat, remember to say, and that's why I felt happy. Like to see you now show me that you could move 3 times during your speech. So tell us about your morning and show us that you know how to walk.
All right.
Stop, you already don't know how to walk. Okay, you don't lead with the foot, your direction you're going. You always don't lead, you lead, no, you don't ever cross your foot. You lead with the foot. Ooh. Lead, if you're going left, you step left. 1, 2, 3, stop. If you're going right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop, power stance. And back to the center, left, 1, 2, 3. Practice that in your rehearsal time during your speech, and you will. It will be very natural, but lead with the foot in the direction you're going. Overall, you did a very nice job. You did it under time, and you showed some great creativity. Thank you. Okay, next. Is that all done?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, what's your name?
Hannah Colombo.
Hannah Colombo. Okay, there you go. Hannah Michelle Colombo. Okay, take a half step forward. Uh-oh, I didn't turn off my phone. Everyone turn off your phone. Okay, how do I message? I say, sorry, I can't talk right now. Okay, good. Alright, let me get you in focus. You're in different heights. There you go. Michelle stands before us, managing attention, communicating respect. Say to herself, I really respect my audience. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
And so when I was in high school, I had a AP calculus class at 6 a.m. It was terrible. And in that class, I always wanted and fantasized about ditching school for the entire day and just having a really fun day with friends and just having adventures. Through the film Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I was able to sort of have that experience even though I never actually did it in high school. So this film made me feel many different emotions. First, I felt jealous in the beginning of the film. In the middle of the film, I felt a little bit embarrassed about some of the things Ferris did. And lastly, at the end of the film, I felt very satisfied about how it all came together. Some of these themes in this film, I'm sure, will really interest you. One of the themes in this film was the theme of choices and how the choices you make will affect you in everyday life, and how you should seize the day and you should make choices that make you happy. Another theme in this film was freedom. The choices you make that lead to more freedom can also lead to consequences. The New York Times puts it best by describing this film as one that describes the nitty-gritty reality and the mess of the teenage world. So first, this film made me feel very jealous, and that was because Ferris Bueller was able to convince his parents that he was sick and they let him stay home for the entire day. And I, on the other hand, had very, very, very strict parents. They did not believe me with anything I said, and just to describe to you how strict my parents were, when I was young, my parents did not let me sleep over at my cousin's house. Not only is she my cousin, but she lived like less than a street away from where I lived. Not only that, I could see her house from my window, and yet my parents still did not let me sleep over at her house. So as you can see, my parents are very strict, and I feel very jealous when I see others who have much more relaxed parents, like Ferris's parents. Second, I felt embarrassed because I saw some of Ferris's mistakes in myself when I was a high school student. In one part of the film, Ferris is with his girlfriend and they're having a very emotional moment, and they're hugging and kissing, and he says to her, "I love you and I'm gonna marry you." When I saw that part in the scene in the film, I thought that was really foolish of him to say. They're high school students, and I highly doubt he was gonna marry her. Yet in high school, I too had a high school sweetheart, and we were dating for a couple of months, and for me in high school, months meant eternity, and I thought we were gonna get married too. So when I saw that scene in Ferris's movie, I felt really embarrassed because it reminded me about how foolish I was in high school too. The third emotion that I felt with this film was one of satisfaction. At the very end of the film, Ferris gets away with his entire day of ditching. His parents don't catch him, his principal doesn't catch him, and he just gets away with his fun adventure. And even though I didn't have the ditch day in high school and I wasn't actually in the film, I really related to Ferris, and I felt that his accomplishment was my accomplishment, and I felt satisfied as well. And so, in conclusion, I have told you how I felt really jealous and embarrassed, but also satisfied by this film. So although in my AP Calculus class I was never able to fulfill my satisfaction of ditching class, I still felt like I had that satisfaction. If you want to feel the adrenaline of ditching, you should definitely watch this film. Thank you.
Thank you, for your feedback. Thank you, Michelle. That was 408. Here.
I'm Alex.
Hi, Alex.
I liked, like, everything in your story flowed really well, so it was, like, pretty easy to, like, know what's going on everywhere. And, like, maybe your, like, transitions were a little, like, like, you know, they were, like, alright, but, like, they were pretty good. But, like, everything, like, flowed really well, so it's good.
Thank you, Alex. Improvement.
Hi, my name is Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
I'm a little jealous. I didn't think to use that movie as my own. It is a really relatable movie, like you said. The only thing is that sometimes you were looking at the ground or looking somewhere else. Something just that.
Okay. Shell, loved your movie choice. It was a good one. Like the last speaker, I'd like to see you move 3 times if you can remember to do that, so that you relax a little. You started with your AP Calculus at 6 a.m., my God. Ouch. And you returned to it finally, so that was a good tie back. You said that the emotions you were going to communicate were jealous, embarrassed, and satisfied, right? Yeah. So, your significant statements were excellent. You really put some thought into them, and you had 2 of them, and that was, I appreciate your extra effort in selling the movie, and that was good. Yeah. Only one little quibble. Remember to say whether you agree or disagree with the quote you're stating from the New York Times. On your first emotion, you said jealous, and you said your parents were very strict. You couldn't even go to your cousin's house, who lived a stone throw away across the street, because your parents were so strict. I say yes, and just remember to elaborate more on the jealousy emotion, feel it, and say, and I felt so jealous of my friends when I saw them doing sleepovers and going to the beach and going out at night. And I was stuck at home, and I was jealous. Go more, say the word more, and elaborate more on it, and re-feel it that you were feeling at the time in your adolescence. And then say it at the very end of your saying, that's why I felt so jealous when I watched this Ferris Bueller movie. Besides being jealous, I was embarrassed. This is your second emotion. And here you talked about you went to 2 proms with your teen high school sweetheart and thought you were going to be married and live happily ever after, and that didn't work out. And as you look back on this now, you're embarrassed by your thoughts of that, right? So again, I'd like to see you relive that embarrassment more and get into it and talk about it a little bit more and re-feel the embarrassment so we feel it too. Unsatisfied. Did you tell us that you ditched high school to go to the beach, or did you leave that out, or how'd that work?
In the speech?
In the speech.
Yeah, I think I sort of forgot.
Yeah, because that would have made satisfied make sense, and I didn't get to why you were satisfied, but when I read that, then I got why you were satisfied. Your summary, your conclusion, and tieback were all good. Do you have your kanai here somewhere? Here your kanai is. Okay, good. Clear story with each main body part. Improve eye contact. Get more comfortable in front of an audience. How'd it go?
Yeah, I think I'm improving in all those.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think you are too. You're getting stronger and you're seeming more comfortable and confident, and that's good. So you're making steps forward. I think if you move 3 times, that'll relax you too, and you'll have the confidence to address this side of the room, that side of the room, and then back to center, okay? Thank you very much. They just keep coming forward. Oh, wait a minute, let me do a little stapling here. How you doing?
Pretty good. This mission was good, so I'm a little sleep deprived. How about
Yeah.
you?
Keeps you up.
Actually, no, my evaluation for last week just staples.
Okay, and your kanai's in there somewhere.
On the last page, yeah.
Okay, good. Nicole stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect, saying to herself, I respect my audience, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi, my name is Nicole,
Hi, Nicole.
and I would like to ask everyone, is suicide ever a justifiable option? The film that I chose really made me contemplate this. And so today I would like to tell you about this movie that moved me, 7 Pounds. It made me angry, it made me sentimental, and it made me sad. This film deals with some significant themes that I know will interest you guys. In 2008, A.O. Scott of the New York Times wrote that the movie was basically a story of inverted, twisted revenge, but I disagree. I feel that the story is one of a depressed man who lost his entire life in the span of 7 seconds and is going about redemption in the wrong way. So, the first way that the film moved me was it made me angry. The scene in particular that triggered this was the one in which the main character, Tim, was going into a woman's house and trying to help her and her children escape from an abusive situation. Instead of accepting the help, she denies it and says that he doesn't know what he's talking about, despite the multiple bruises and the broken ribs. This made me really angry because it reminded me of a time in my own life when my mom was abused by her husband. I was at my friend's house spending the night, and the next morning I got a call, and she was crying, and she told me that her and her husband had gotten into an argument and that he had slammed her against the wall and choked her. And by then, he was already gone, he was out of the house. You know, I couldn't do anything about it except to go home and comfort her the best a 15-year-old can. And so I was so angry that he would dare lay a finger on my mom. And I was so mad that I wasn't there to help her. But most of all, I was upset that she didn't want to accept help, just like the woman in the film. After the initial shock wore off, I offered to help her file a police report and a restraining order, but she said no. She said that He had only done it because he was really angry from the argument and that he had promised not to do it again. You can imagine when he did it again, I was very angry. However, this film didn't just make me angry, it also made me sentimental. The scene in the film in which the main character gets a call from his friend saying that she's in the hospital and that she's alone and she doesn't think she can be alone. And so even though he's in debilitating pain, he walks across town to the hospital to stay by her bed all night so that she can sleep. And this reminded me of something my husband used to do when we were young. I used to have some nights where I couldn't sleep, too, and I couldn't deal with being alone. And so he knew about this, and when he could tell it was going to be one of those nights, he would call me and we would talk for hours. He would tell me stories, he would tell me about the future. Sometimes he would just be completely quiet, just letting me know that if I needed him, he was there for me to reach out to. And seeing this in the film and remembering all of it, it made me pleasantly sentimental. The last way the film moved me is it saddened me. In the final stages of the film, we find out that Tim has been going about finding 7 people whose lives he can change drastically to make up for a car accident he had caused in which 7 people lost their lives. And so for the first 4 people, he helps them in ways that he can. He donates bone marrow, he donates a lobe of his lung, he donates a kidney, and he even gives his house to one of the women. But for the last 3, they needed vital organs. And so he called 911, got into a bathtub full of ice, and he killed himself. The reason this made me really sad was because it reminded me of 4 people in my own life who attempted suicide. My childhood friend, my cousin, my husband, and my father. Luckily, none of them succeeded, but this doesn't change that they tried. That for a time in their lives, they were so hopeless and so desperate that they thought the best way to escape their problems was to die. And seeing this portrayed in the film made me remember just how close I got to losing these 4 people, these 4 important people in my lives, just from one instant decision. And so that definitely made me sad, and I was sad for a while after watching the film. In summary, I've shown you how the film made me angry, how it made me sentimental, and how it saddened me. In conclusion, there should be no doubt that the film 7 Pounds really moved me. And concerning the first question, no, I don't think that suicide is ever a justifiable option. Whether it's to save lives, to donate organs, or to make up for a crime, there's always other ways and there's always other options. Thank you.
5:15. Okay, where are we? So we haven't heard from you.
My name's Hannah,
Hi, Hannah.
and I like that you were able to really find very specific personal experiences that really tied back. I didn't feel like it was like a stretch. I felt like you genuinely related to the film in a multitude of ways. It was really like, that came through a lot in your speech.
The perfect fit most of the time. Improvement.
Hi, I'm Laura.
Hi, Laura.
I don't really have many improvements. Your speech was really good. Like, you really felt the emotions well. Maybe just like moved 3 times, but it was excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to remind everybody to move 3 times at the beginning so that they'll do it. Well, Nicole, this was a really good speech on the level of the emotional connection that you made with your audience, which was the purpose of the speech. So congratulations on that. You started with a rhetorical question, which is not my favorite one, but in this case it worked well, and it worked well for the speech. Is suicide ever justifiable? You guys, you can cut that out. This film I chose really made me consider and think about these things. And you said angry, sentimental, and saddened, so you had a good thesis preview. A.O. Scott in the New York Times in 2008 didn't like the film. You disagreed and you explained why he was trying to redeem himself. So I appreciate you having a counterpoint with the New York Times critic. On the main body, angry, we have a case of domestic abuse, which you briefly alluded to, and then you talk about your mother being domestically abused by her husband or mate or whatever he is, and yet not willing to stop it or turn him in and forgiving him. And very sad story, really. But I could palpably feel your anger and your angst and being upset at this whole situation. You were reliving it, you were sensing and remembering it, and we felt it too. And you did it just right. So that was well done. The second emotion that you communicated was sentimental, and you talked about holding the hand while they slept, and you talked about how your husband, when you were young, would be with you and talk to you and stay on the phone and be with you and really be a presence for you when you were in need. And so you felt, in remembering that, sentimental about remembering the good company and support he provided. So I felt the sentimentality that you felt, so that came through. So that was excellent. Remember to use your hands. You were holding your hands pretty much a lot like this. So let them gesture and be moving a little bit more. The third emotion, sad, yes. Here you told us and shared with us some very private information about your dad, your cousin, your husband, and a childhood friend all trying to commit suicide. And even though they didn't succeed, they still tried, and each time it made you sad and, had an impact on you and left tracks on you in your memory that are hard to erase, I'm sure. And so I felt your sadness that someone that close to you would be so desperate that they would feel this was the only option. So your sadness was felt, sensed, and communicated, and I got it. So that was good. Your summary was good, your conclusion was good, and your tieback was good, and you were right in the perfect amount of time. Let's look at your canais. Utilize pauses, varying volumes to keep the speech interesting. Maintain 5 seconds of eye contact with audience members. Try not to pause or stutter. How'd it go?
It went okay. I didn't do as much vocal variety as I wanted, but I did better on eye contact this time, so I'm happy with that.
Good. One thing with vocal variety, I found an exercise that we just don't have time this quarter, but I have people exaggerate the vocal variety. It's an exaggeration exercise where they almost yell and whisper and do real exaggerated forms of vocal variety, so they get in their mind that there's a range. And if you can have your person that's watching you, when you practice, tell them this is one of my goals, and raise their hand when you're speaking more in the same tone for too long a time, and that will remind you to change it somewhat. That would be a helpful change. But overall, you did a really excellent job. Thank you, Nicole. piece of paper. Fine, yeah, you start a roll. Thank you. Are you coming forward?
Yeah, I don't know why I wrote this one.
Okay. She's from the Hamptons. Great. Okay. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks. How you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good. Ooh. Give me a moment to. Yeah, that's. Actually stands before you managing attention, communicating respect, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi guys, my name is Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
So, how many of you have been able to watch a movie over and over again, and every single time you watch it, you feel the exact same way from the first time that you hit play? It's not too often that we find these movies, but it's usually the powerful classics that make us feel this way. So today I'm going to share with you all a film that made me feel hopeful, exhilarating, and heartbroken, all in a span of just 2 hours. The Great Gatsby. I'm sure this movie can make all of you guys feel a certain way, and today I'm going to tell you guys how this film made me feel. And the Rolling Stone gave a review and said that The Great Gatsby is a jazz tale full of sex, lies, and conspicuous consumption. It's possibly one of the greatest American novels of all time. So the first way that this film moved me was that it made me feel hopeful. I'm sure all of you guys know about the relationship that Nick and Jay have with each other. Jay Gatsby is a very known guy, but he's known for his money, his big parties, his huge cars. But Nick finds something in him that he doesn't just like him for the money. He likes Jay because he really likes him as a person, and they're very good friends and they connect well. When watching this movie, it made me feel hopeful that I would find a friend that I could connect with in this way. I've always wanted a person to look at me the way that Nick looked at Jay and the way that they connected with their friendship. And in the same year, in 2013, I actually found my best friend, and it just so happens that her favorite movie is The Great Gatsby as well. And I knew that the relationship was going to be good because I compared it to the relationship of Jay and Nick. And it was one of the connections that it doesn't come around too much, where a person can really accept you for who you truly are. And moving on to the second way this film made me feel was exhilarating. I'm sure all of you guys have known that The Great Gatsby has so many huge parties and colors and costumes and music, and every time I watch it I just feel amazing with all of the parties and the energy that the movie can give off to you. And it reminded me of a time in my life where my family, we always, instead of mourning, we decide to celebrate so that people can lift their spirits up. So there's been a couple of instances where we've lost family members, but instead of mourning, we'll have celebrations to celebrate their life and celebrate the life that they lived. And watching this movie, watching The Great Gatsby, really made me feel and remember those times that my family chose to celebrate instead of mourn. And in The Great Gatsby as well, it's known that they drink and party instead of deal with the problems that they really face in their crazy society. And moving on to the last way that this film made me feel. It really made me feel a bit heartbroken, which is interesting. But at the end of the film, Jay Gatsby gets fatally shot because of a crime that he supposedly committed, but he actually didn't. He was accused of running over Tom Buchanan's mistress, and she died, so he got the blame for it, and he was killed by the mistress's actual husband. And this reminded me of a time in my life where my brother was accused of a crime that he didn't commit, and it's the reason that he's in jail now. So I am a sophomore in college, and this happened when I was in 6th grade. So I felt this way for a long time, and watching that movie kind of brought back feelings of people that, it brought back feelings of like someone having a consequence happen to them that they didn't deserve. And Jay Gatsby was a great person, but most people didn't really get the chance to understand him because he was overshadowed by his money and his parties. And I feel like that was the same thing with my brother. Most people didn't really get to understand the true him because there were so many like titles that overshadowed him. And that really made me feel sad and betrayed, and it reminded me of that time in my life. So in summary, I have told you guys 3 ways that The Great Gatsby made me feel hopeful, exhilarating, and completely heartbroken in just a span of 2 hours. Ever since the first time I've hit play on watching The Great Gatsby, I felt the exact same way every single time. No movie has ever been able to move me in such a way, and I'm sure that no future movie will be able to move me in such a way. It's a powerful movie to say the least, and it's definitely a classic.
Thank you. 501.
My name is Andre.
Hi, Andre.
I really liked your speech. It was very fluent. I really saw your emotion inside the speech. The only thing I would say maybe improve on is your hand gestures are kind of distracting or sway a little bit.
My hand gestures distracting.
Hi, I'm Ryan.
Hi.
I also loved your speech. I thought you exuded a lot of confidence and you seemed really comfortable with what you were saying. Towards the end, you were stumbling a little bit, so I guess just practicing the extemporaneous delivery would help. But apart from that, I think you were really well.
Good comments. Yeah. Actually, I liked your speech. I liked the personal nature of it, and the movie you chose was a good one. I liked it too. Thought it was a great film. You started with a rhetorical question, and you came back to that. Not exactly my favorite, but try a Paul McQuota story or a joke next time. Hopeful, exhilarated, or heartbroken. Okay, were your 3, and so let's look at those. Remember, you wrote in you agree with the. Remember to say you agree. Yeah. Hopeful. Let's talk about your emotion here. You were saying you initially were kind of jealous of how someone had such a close and great friend, and you were hoping to have one too like that, and then one came along. Is the name Aixa? How do you say that? Aixa. 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 Yeah. It would help that, you know, in storytelling you want more details, give a name, and then, you know, it sounds more real and stuff. So, and we both liked the movie, and that was great. And just remember to say, and so that's why I felt hopeful at the end of it. But besides hopeful, I felt exhilarated. A transition there, so we know right where you are. I love this story of your family having wakes that are positive, that are celebrations of life rather than mourning. And just remember to say, and that's why I felt exhilarated whenever these parties happened. I felt an exhilaration. Remember the exhilaration and re-feel it. Felt, sense it, so we feel it too. Your final emotion was, you said that it broke your heart, and you talked about your brother being wrongfully imprisoned, and you talked about how frustrating this was that this kind of thing could happen, and that how heartbreaking it was, and this situation in the film when someone was wrongfully accused, as in The Great Gatsby, is the same thing that happened in your life. And so you return to that emotion, remember saying, so remembering every day that my brother is incarcerated breaks my heart. See, let us feel it from you. Let us feel your emotion that your heart is broken. See? Let us feel it, re-feel it. You re-feel it and say it so we know you're feeling it. Your summary was good. Your conclusion and tie back were fine. As was suggested back here, you started to stumble a little toward the end. You ran out of gas, so you want to end on more of a bang, and so keep your energy level up at the end of the speech. But overall, you did a good job. Thank you. Remember, did you have canais? Remember to have canais, your 3 goals that you write in each time. Did you write them somewhere? And
I think I looked them on that sheet.
on this one? Okay. Remember to do the conclusion. Okay. Write about as 3 goals on a separate thing, the way I have it at the bottom of the page. Okay. Thank you.
Here's my speech, and here's my, this and my canais are like, it's right there.
Canais are mixed in there. What? Good word. Carolyn stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, my name's Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
So about a year ago, I downloaded this song, See You Again, which came out about in 2015 with a movie that I'd never seen before, Furious 7. Fast forward to this summer, my boyfriend and I were trying to decide what movie we should watch one night, and he suggested we start watching his favorite series, Fast and Furious. And I was like, aren't these movies just about like gunfights and fast cars? Like, what? Like, I'm not interested in that. But by the 7th movie, I realized that it was like the best series I'd ever seen, and it really moved me. So the movie that moved me the most was Fast and Furious 7, and this movie made me laugh, made me feel proud, and made me cry. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone in 2015 said this movie was the best Fast and Furious, which I agree with, and he said that it's 2 hours of pow, fueled by dedication and a passionate heart, and this one really sticks with you, which I completely agree with because it's the one that stuck with me the most. The first way this movie made me feel was it made me laugh. So the scene in the movie that made me laugh was towards the end. Some of the characters, Tej and Roman, are being chased by this drone that these bad guys have set out to go attack them. Basically, Roman says, oh, we're dealing with all these things and now we got a spaceship following us, and his friend Tej says, dude, that's a drone, that's not a spaceship. And Roman's kind of like, I don't care what it's called, like it's chasing us, it's trying to kill us. And this made me laugh because it reminds me of one time that my friend, she is really big on just correcting people at unnecessary times. And so she kind of, one time I was teaching a dance step to the team and I didn't remember the step and the name of the step, and I was just demonstrating it, and everyone knew exactly what I was talking about, and everyone got it, and we'd kind of moved on, and she decided to correct me on it, and everyone was kind of laughing, like, that's unnecessary, you know? So I just find it really funny how people, like, feel the need to correct people in, like, the most unnecessary times, even when it's, like, a life or death situation. So not only did this movie make me laugh, but it also made me feel really proud. The scene that made me feel proud was a scene where these guys are on a beach and they're checking out this girl that they just met, and she's like a computer scientist, she's super smart and she's a hacker, and she's basically like coming out of the water in a bikini, and they're all like checking her out, and be like talking about how hot she is, talking about her body, and you know, like saying, one of them even calls dibs on her, which is like just really objectifying her. This made me, oh, and then one of the girls that's with them like goes up to them and is like, really guys, like that you're really gonna do that right now, you know, kind of like calls him out on the objectification, which really made me feel proud because it reminded me of one time my guy friends and I were at a competition, like a dance competition, and we were watching some of the best dancers in the world, and they kept talking about like how hot this one girl was and how, you know, like how nice her hair was, how nice her body was, and I was like, really guys, like she's one of the best dancers in the world, and all you can focus on is her body, like don't you appreciate her dancing or anything? So it really made me feel proud that both Letty and I were able to kind of like stand up to the objectification of women, and that like just really related back to my life. So the third way this movie made me feel was it made me cry. It made me feel really sad. So I don't know if you guys know this, but about the middle of the filming of the movie, one of the main characters, Paul Walker, who plays Brian O'Connor, he actually passed away in a car accident. So at the end of the movie, they have this whole kind of tribute to him because they really had to finish the movie kind of without him. They have this tribute where they like flash through scenes from all the like different movies from the series, and at the end, he's driving along, or what's supposed to be his car and his best friend's car driving along, and his car kind of like veers off and kind of goes into the sunset, just to symbolize, you know, this character has moved on because, you know, the actor has passed away and it was really just hard for everyone. This made me cry not because of how touching it was, but also because my boyfriend's brother actually died in a car accident around the same time that both the movie and the song came out. I remember I was driving home one night and I got a call from him, and he was crying. I couldn't really make out what he was saying, but all I heard was like, my brother died. And it was just a really hard time for all of us. You know, we were all just really upset, and around that same time is when, you know, See You Again, the song came out, which is really touching and kind of about how even though people pass away, you know, we'll see them again kind of in heaven. So really, I feel that connection with that song all the time, especially after watching the movie. So in summary, I have told you how this movie made me laugh, made me feel proud, and made me cry. There should be no doubt that this movie moved me most out of all the movies I've ever seen. And now, not only when I hear that song do I think of the movie, but I also think of, you know, how we should always think about how we're going to see people again instead of just being sad that they're lost. Think about the good times in their life. And the movie kind of made me realize that maybe when my boyfriend suggests movies, I shouldn't just, you know, think they're all about gunfights or fast cars, and there's, you know, something more to them that I could make a connection to.
5:23.
Hi everyone, I'm Jarelli.
Hi, Jarelli.
I really liked your speech. I thought you were very enthusiastic about it, and I haven't seen the movie, but I really want to watch it now. And I thought you moved 3 times.
Yeah. Improvement.
Hi, I'm Michaela.
Hi, Michaela.
Oh, sorry. I agree. I thought that you did a really nice job in your speech. It was really easy to listen to. You're really likable speaker. One thing I would maybe improve on is you kind of had the same kind of volume throughout the speech. So maybe when things get a little exciting, raise your volume and stuff like that. But
That's a good suggestion. Thank you, Michaela. Yeah. Okay, Caroline, I liked your speech. The Fast and Furious, you were right, has a reputation as you said, as a bunch of guys racing around in cars and shooting each other, and why would I be interested in that? And so you got pleasantly surprised, and you had a good tie back to that in the end, and so you came the full circle. So that all worked nicely. So this was a well-constructed, well-thought-out speech, so good for you on that. On your laugh, proud, and cry, Fast and Furious, you this one sticks with you. You agreed with the Rolling Stone quote. Your first one was laugh. Laugh's a hard one to do because we kind of had to have been there to get the movie seen. And then the laugh at the woman or the girl or whoever it was trying to correct you at the dance studio, but we kind of got it, and it would help if you kind of were chuckling or laughing a little and remembering that and smiling more, so we felt your mirth or your laughter in it. And you did say, and you said, I found some people, it's funny how some people just need to do that, but you want to say, and that's why I laughed, and that's why the movie made me laugh. Okay. So return to the emotion that you're felt sensing, and really remember it and feel it, and then we'll feel it. On the second emotion, proud, objectification, yes, it's everywhere. And you took the scene from the movie, and then you took a scene from your dance life and called out some friends that were lusting after some of the dancers as if they were just sexual objects. So that was a good thing that you did. And you ended on then, I want you to feel the proudness and feel the happiness you felt in calling them out. And that's why I felt so proud. You did end on proud, but remember the feeling of it and you feel it. On laugh, but you said it made me laugh proud, but it also made me cry. And the cry was the one you were really getting at. And yes, it was a very sad thing, and very sad when you get the call of somebody close friend that loses their life in an accident, and they're forever changed, and they're never the same, and everything changes. You drive differently, you look differently, you never, you're just never the same, especially if you were close to the person. So it would be helpful if you spent a little bit more time. Here's a chance for where you could slow down and remember your sadness, and the sadness you felt through your boyfriend, and the sadness he felt, and the sadness you felt, and tear up a little bit as you're remembering it. Then we will feel it too. Summary, conclusion, tie back, all fine. Your canais. Staying in the power stance after you move. Another goal is to, wow, I can't read your writing. Something, purpose to expose my points. What's your second one?
Sorry. It says stay in the power stance and move around less, and then move 3 times with purpose.
I'll move 3 times. You did move 3 times nicely. I would say work on this vocal variety and continue to, when you're working on creating and communicating emotion, remember to feel them, to hold that feeling, and to say the emotion you're communicating, and that will help your audience know what you're communicating. But otherwise, really good job. Thank you. Okay, next. Thank you. Hi. Great. Do you have a self-evaluation?
Sorry.
We'll get taller. Just a minute, Ryan. Ryan stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, saying to himself, I respect my audience. He really means it. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
So most movies on average are about an hour and a half long, and I personally have a very difficult time connecting with characters. That's why I tend to like TV shows more. You have more of an investment in it. but on very few occasions there are movies, and these are the best movies, that take you on an emotional roller coaster ride. Today I want to talk to you about a movie that did just this, took me on a journey. That movie is Up. This movie made me laugh, it made me cry, and it even made me feel really nostalgic and brought me back to my childhood and some memories that I had forgotten about. So, the first time I watched this movie, I remember laughing a lot more, just because the humor is targeted towards a younger audience. But even so, I laughed a lot this time that I watched it. One scene in particular had me laughing immensely, and that was when Carl, who's the main character, this old man, sets up his house to take off and go to this place called Paradise Falls. And he does this by tying balloons to the top of his house and flying over there. Little does he know that he has a 9-year-old stowaway in the name of Russell, this chubby little Boy Scout that's strapped to the porch. So he finds this out when a knock is on his door while he's in midair, and he doesn't seem to think anything of it. He just acts very grumpily and stereotypically and opens the door. At first he doesn't see anyone, but soon he looks over to his right and sees Russell there. Russell, who fears for his life, asks him to enter, and Carl abruptly says no and slams the door. This was funny in itself, but it really reminded me of a time in my childhood when I had a similar experience. The neighborhood kids in my neighborhood, we would always play around at this field that was close to this old man's house. None of us really knew him, but whenever we saw him, we were kind of scared of him. But our parents were all friends with him, and we knew that he was someone we could still approach. On one particular day, I had the horrible unfortunality of needing to use the bathroom. And I knew I wouldn't be able to make it all the way back to my house or to any of my friends' houses. So I knocked on his door. I was met with a very grumpy, angry face, and I was really scared, and I asked him if I could use his bathroom. At first he was a bit skeptical, but seeing that I was on the verge of defiling his doorstep, he let me in. On the other end of the spectrum, this movie also made me cry. It's rare for me with animated films to really feel this slew of emotions, but one scene in particular, a very famous scene in Up, had me. This was the scene that a lot of people herald as filmmaking at its finest. The New York Times, Manali Dargis, in 2009 said this, immediately following the release of the film. This scene is the first scene you watch, and it shows where Carl, the main character, the old man, as a young boy meets his future wife, Ellie. It then progresses with no audio whatsoever except for some music in the background, and you see them grow old together. You see them get married, you see them take on a dilapidated house which they then make their own, and you see them grow old together. All the while they intend on going to this Paradise Falls place, but they often have to tap into their savings, and by the time they have enough to go, Ellie gets really sick, passes away. This was particularly sad to me because it made me really appreciate all the sacrifices my parents had to make for my own betterment, and it also reminded me of recently when I saw my grandmother, who's ailing at the moment, sick in a bed, which was a particular parallel to Ellie being sick. So the last emotion I really felt was nostalgia. This movie brought me back to my childhood completely. And particularly when Russell finds Doug, who is this talking dog. So I think it's pretty obvious if we all met a dog, let alone a talking dog, that we'd all want to bring it home. So Russell asks Carl, who's become almost his grandfather figure, if he could bring it with them on their journey. And Carl, again, like a grumpy old man, says no. And this reminded me of my childhood because my whole family, except for my father, was all about getting a dog. We always wanted one, and throughout the years we've always begged him for one, and still to this day he has yet to budge. So in conclusion, it is clear that Up took me on a journey. It moved me, made me laugh, it made me cry, and it just brought me back to my childhood as a whole. It's one of the best animated films because it keeps you hooked throughout. And even though it's just an hour and 41 minutes long, it does a great job in making you feel personally invested in the characters. I know I for sure developed a real love for Carl, seeing his life from beginning to end, for all the characters and for this movie as a whole. Thank you.
433.
So, I really liked your intro, and I think you did a good job. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Linnea.
Hi, Linnea.
Okay, so like I said, I liked your intro and how you tied it back to your conclusion, and then your joke was funny. I mean, your like kind of awkward pause made it a little funnier. You know, just like didn't know how to react.
Yeah, that's good. You got a little waited for the punchline. Improvement.
Hi, I'm Lily.
Hi, Lily.
I really liked your speech. I liked how the funny part you actually laughed, so you could tell that you actually thought it was funny. And I liked that you moved around a lot also. So I thought it was good.
Okay, Ryan, let's talk about your speech. You observed that movies are an hour and a half long. You don't like them because you rarely connect with them. You like TV shows, but one that you really connected with was Up. Made you laugh, cry, and made you feel nostalgic. So far, so good. You circled back to the New York Times quote, "It's filmmaking at its best." I guess you agreed with that, or you sort of disagreed a little
To do
bit?
that where I intended on doing it, so I have to bring it back at the end.
Bring it
because I
back at
remember
the end. You circled back and got it in. Okay, good. So let's talk about your first one, which was laugh. When you, it was a humorous story of you having to use the bathroom at your grumpy old neighbor's door, and you wanting to pee on his front doorstep, and him finally letting you in. And you built it up nicely, so it was a cute and funny story. Just remember as you're saying the story, and I was trying to hold back my laugh, and it's because the emotion you're communicating is laugh and merriment, and so you want to say, and that's at the end of it, and that's why it made me laugh. But besides laugh, have internal transition, the second way the film moved me, and then you go on to your second emotion. Now, this one here, your second emotion with what we call, this is the one that I felt I was going to really get you to tear up. And I guess this is what you didn't want to go that far, but I wish you had. You had two things here, and you left us to infer that you're sad about your grandmother dying and too sick.
She's still alive.
But she's sick. Yeah. And your other problems that you're having there. I didn't get a sense of sadness, of crying from you there, and this is what we were shooting for. So I want you to do the felt sensing and remember your sadness, re-feel it, and we'll feel it too. So that one didn't work for me. The third one was better, the nostalgic. Yes, I think that the thing about the dog was, no avail. You're not getting the dog. That was nostalgic memory that came through. Summary, fine. Conclusion, your tie back to the hour and 41 minutes were fine. Your canais, maintain eye contact, use an extemporaneous delivery. Try to move a little bit while staying in the power stance. Flow from point to point with ease. How'd it go?
I think I could have, the point, like flowing a little better, I could have done, like transition wise, like you said.
Yeah.
But I got to move, and I think I did well with eye contact.
Yeah. Just the only thing would be just continue to work on your felt sensing of communicating emotion. Read the chapter and the text and the sticky tag on emotions again, and remember what the author says about how important it is in storytelling to knowing how to make a real emotional connection with your audience. It will be more memorable, it will be more compelling, it will be more sticky, you know. Anyway, nice job. Thank you. Okay, next. You got everyone? Any more? You got everyone? Yeah. Okay, you have one?
Yeah, it's not my day, so I want to make sure that everyone's day. Who's
It's not your day? Hey, you skipped from before you were absent or something?
Yeah, I was sick.
Okay, fine. Thank you for asking.
I didn't want to take anyone's time.
Oh, Hannah. Guess what? We're out of battery.